My name's Henry Miles, 62 years old, retired contractor, and the man who built the house they threw me out of. The cedar beams above the living room? I sanded those myself in '94. The stone fireplace everyone posed in front of tonight. I hauled every piece from an old quarry in Flagstaff. I didn't build a mansion. I built something better, a home. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. My birthday. Evan, my son, had planned a surprise dinner. His wife Becky handled the guest list. Neighbors, a few cousins, even my granddaughter Maggie. The table looked perfect. Roast beef, candles, and a store-bought cake that said, "To new beginnings." I should have known something was off when Becky handed me an envelope before we even ate. "It's something practical, Henry," she said. "We thought you'd appreciate that more than, you know, clutter." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Inside wasn't a card. It was paperwork, legal language, financial guardianship, durable power of attorney. I blinked. "What's this?" Evan laughed too loudly. "Just a precaution, Dad. You've been forgetting things lately. Becky found a lawyer who helps families plan ahead." Everyone chuckled politely, except Maggie, who looked uncomfortable. The whole room shifted then. I could feel eyes on me, pity and judgment mixing like bad whiskey. I'd built this house brick by brick, and now my own son was talking to me like a confused tenant. I folded the paper carefully, placed it on the table. "We can talk about this later," I said. Becky exchanged a quick look with Evan. "Actually," she said, "we were hoping to finalize it this week. Maybe after the meeting." "What meeting?" "Family meeting," Evan said smoothly. "Tomorrow night. It's about next steps. You'll see." They toasted after that, raising glasses like it was all decided already. I smiled for the camera, cake knife in my hand, candles flickering in front of me. But inside, something cold started building. I didn't know it yet, but that meeting would end with my suitcase on the porch, and the locks changed by sunrise. The next evening, I walked into my own living room and didn't recognize it. The photos of me and my late wife had been moved off the mantel, replaced by framed diplomas and Becky's scented candles. Chairs had been rearranged into a neat semicircle, like a classroom, and sitting there waiting were my son, his wife, and two people I didn't know. Evan stood when I entered. "Dad, glad you could make it. We just want to talk, that's all." Becky gestured toward the strangers. "This is Dr. Laird, a cognitive specialist, and Miss Ellis, our family attorney." My gut clenched. This wasn't a family meeting. This was an ambush dressed up in therapy language. I sat down slowly, crossing my arms. Dr. Laird cleared his throat. "Mr. Miles, your family's noticed some concerning patterns, forgetfulness, confusion about bills, misplaced paperwork," Becky added softly. "Like that time you left the stove on." "Once," I said flatly, "and I came back before anything burned." Evan leaned forward, tone calm but sharp. "Dad, we're not trying to attack you. We're trying to protect you. The house, your savings, you've done so much, and we just don't want you overwhelmed." He slid a document across the table. "Durable power of attorney. Just sign this, and Becky and I can manage everything for you. The bank already has the forms ready." I looked at him, the same boy who used to hammer nails beside me in this very room. "Manage everything for me," I repeated. "You mean own everything?" Becky's smile hardened. "Henry, please, let's not make this difficult. The lawyer said it's safer this way." Maggie sat on the stairs, hugging her knees, eyes wide. No one else looked at me, not even Evan. I stood up. Meeting's over. Evan followed, voice raised. Dad, you're making a scene. In my own house? I said. You'll forgive me if I don't take orders in my own damn living room. Dr. Laird whispered something to Becky, words like evaluation and recommendation for guardianship. That's when Evan stepped closer and said the line that would stay in my head for weeks. Dad, if you won't sign now, we'll have to take other steps. You can't keep living here like this. I laughed once, dry and sharp. You mean you'll throw me out? He didn't answer. He just looked at Becky, and she nodded. By midnight, my duffel bag was by the door. Evan changed the locks before I reached the end of the driveway. The next morning, I was parked across the street from the house I built. My house. The Arizona sun had barely risen, but I was already sweating through my flannel. Evan's silver SUV was in the driveway. Becky's voice floated through an open window, laughing. I walked up the front path, the one I'd poured myself, and knocked hard. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Finally, Evan opened the door halfway, blocking the entrance with his arm. Dad, this isn't a good time. It's not a request, I said. You're going to explain what happened last night. He sighed, the kind of sigh you give a toddler throwing a tantrum. We didn't want it to come to this, but after talking with Dr. Laird and the lawyer, it's clear you can't handle things alone. Becky appeared behind him in a silk robe, coffee mug in hand. Henry, please, she said sweetly, don't make this harder. We're only doing what's best. I stared past them, through the doorway, and saw my boots by the wall, my jacket draped over the banister. Everything looked staged, like I'd died and they'd cleaned up for guests. You forged something, I said. That paperwork last night wasn't legal. I want to see the documents. Evan's jaw tightened. They're already filed. Filed where? With the county clerk. And Dad, he paused, choosing his words. You shouldn't come by unannounced. It's confusing for everyone. He started to close the door, but I caught it. My hand gripped the edge until my knuckles went white. You listen to me. I built this house, paid every bill, every nail, every brick. If you think you can steal it with a few signatures, you're going to regret it. For the first time, his composure cracked. You need help, he hissed. Mom would have agreed. That hit me square in the chest. He used her name, my late wife, as a weapon. Becky pulled him back gently. Let him go, Evan. He'll see reason when he calms down. I let the door close this time, slowly. As I turned to leave, something caught my eye. A crumpled envelope sticking out of the trash bin near the curb, the bank's logo on the corner. I pulled it out. Payment confirmation. $4,800 to Ellis Legal Group. Under client, it said, Henry Miles. My name, my supposed retainer, paid by Evan's checking account. That's when I knew this wasn't just betrayal. It was fraud. I spent that night at a cheap roadside motel off Route 60, eating cold takeout and staring at that envelope. $4,800. My name. His account. A fake retainer that made it look like I had hired the lawyer who helped them take my house. At 2 a.m., I picked up my phone and called the only man I trusted, Sam Ortiz, retired cop, 40 years on the Phoenix PD. He answered on the second ring. Henry, haven't heard that voice since we poured that deck in '09. What's going on? My son just kicked me out of my own house, I said, and I think he forged my signature to do it. Sam didn't say a word for a few seconds. Then, meet me in the morning. I'll bring my coffee and my scanner. By sunrise, we were sitting in a diner booth. Sam looked older, heavier around the shoulders, but his eyes were still sharp. He scanned the receipt on a portable reader, whistling low. "You didn't hire Ellis Legal Group. I can run the EIN and see which client ID the payment came from. If your son used your name to file power of attorney, that's criminal impersonation." He tapped his tablet. "And this handwriting here, the endorsement line, that's not yours." I rubbed my temple. "He used my wife's death to justify this. Said I wasn't thinking clearly." Sam nodded slowly. "Classic setup. Paint the parent as unstable, seize control, then drain the account. I've seen it before." He opened another app, showed me a satellite view of my old property. "You had cameras, right? Front porch, garage, and back gate." "Good. Let's see if anything survived." That afternoon, we met the old delivery driver from the moving company, Jeff, a quiet man who'd helped when they packed up my things. Jeff scratched his head when Sam showed his badge. "Yeah, Becky told us to haul some boxes. Weird thing. She said don't touch the security system. But when we finished, I noticed a small drive on the truck floor. Looked like a backup stick from a camera." Sam's grin widened. "You still got it?" "Tossed it in my glove box. Never knew who it belonged to." He handed it over. A tiny flash drive labeled Miles Home Cam _backup. We drove straight to Sam's house. He plugged it in. The screen filled with video thumbnails, motion-triggered clips from my front door, all dated last week. Sam clicked one. Evan stood in my living room, papers in hand, whispering to Becky. "Once Dad signs, we'll move the funds right after the notary leaves. Keep the account in his name until transfer clears." Becky's voice. "And the guardianship filing? Dr. Laird's drafting it Monday." Sam paused the video and looked at me. "Henry, you just got your first piece of gold." The following week felt like living in a fog that wouldn't lift. I'd spent 40 years fixing other people's problems. Leaky roofs, broken beams, failing foundations. But I couldn't fix my own family. I was staying in a rented room above a hardware store Sam's friend owned. The mattress dipped in the middle, and every time I lay down, I could smell sawdust and paint thinner. It reminded me of the early years, when my wife and I were building our first place, before money, before greed. Now I was eating canned soup for dinner and counting the days since my son had spoken to me like a human being. Sam was doing what he could. He'd found out that Ellis Legal Group had billed Henry Miles' client for multiple transactions: guardianship prep, power of attorney, title transfer, even consultation for mental health documentation. All paid by Evan's account, all signed by my name. The night I saw that invoice list, something in me went quiet. Not angry quiet, empty quiet. I sat there staring at my old wedding ring on the nightstand, the one I couldn't wear since my knuckles swelled with arthritis. That's when I finally whispered. She'd be ashamed of him, and I wasn't sure if I meant my late wife or me. A knock came around 9. The landlord shouted up the stairs. "Package for you, Mr. Miles. No return address." I opened it, a plain envelope, thick and heavy. Inside was a photocopy of a legal transfer document. My signature again, shaky, unfamiliar. But this time someone had highlighted a section in yellow. Witness, Dr. Alan Laird, notary, Rebecca Collins, Becky Miles, Becky. She'd notarized the document herself, against Arizona law. It was the kind of mistake that could break an entire case. At the bottom of the photocopy was a handwritten note. "They made a mess, Henry. It's time you cleaned it up." No signature. No clue who sent it. But whoever it was, they just handed me the first crack in their wall. I called Sam immediately. "We've got a whistleblower," he said. "And if Becky notarized her own document, that's perjury. You just went from victim to witness." I looked out the window at the dark street below. Cold rain hit the pavement, tapping in steady rhythm against the glass. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like the one being thrown out. I felt like the one about to knock back. I didn't sleep that night. The rain outside had turned the parking lot into a silver mirror, reflecting every neon sign. Pawn, liquor, vacancy. All the places men like me ended up when their own families erased them. But by morning, I wasn't broken anymore. I was awake. For the first time since that cursed family meeting, my thoughts were sharp, steady, dangerous in the right way. Sam came over with his usual thermos of burnt coffee. "You look different," he said. "Because I've decided something," I told him. "They took my home. I'm taking back my name." He grinned. "Now that's the Henry I remember." We spent the day combing through everything: the flash drive, the envelope, the bank receipts, the invoice logs. Each clue was a nail in Evan and Becky's coffin. But we needed more than just proof of fraud. We needed something admissible, something the court couldn't dismiss as family drama. Sam made a few calls to old contacts. By evening, he'd arranged a meeting with Laura Kim, a civil attorney turned investigative reporter. She specialized in elder exploitation cases, the kind that made headlines when they involved money and family. We met her at a diner off McDowell Road. Laura was in her 40s, sharp eyes, no nonsense. She listened to everything, said little, then finally spoke. "If what you're saying is true, you've got felony-level fraud, forgery, perjury, unlawful transfer. But we'll need the original signed documents and an official copy of that notary license. The video helps, but chain of custody is everything." I slid the flash drive across the table. "This one has their voices, their words." She nodded. "Good. That'll be our physical proof hash one. But Henry, we'll need something they can't deny, the original paper from county records. And someone inside that firm probably knows how it got filed." Sam leaned forward. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Laura smirked. "Yeah, we bait them into giving us what we need." I raised an eyebrow. "How?" "You play the part of the broken old man. Call your son. Tell him you're ready to sign whatever he wants, but only if he lets you pick up your things from the house yourself." I hesitated. "That's risky." "So is letting them get away with it," she said. I looked down at the forged signature again, the one meant to erase me, and felt a kind of calm settle in. "Let's do it," I said. Laura smiled faintly. "Welcome back to the fight, Mr. Miles." We spent the next 2 days building the kind of plan that would have made my younger self proud. Sam handled surveillance and timing. Laura handled the legal groundwork: what to do, what not to touch, and how to make everything stick in court. And me, I'd play the fool. Laura's words echoed in my head. "Let them think they've won." So I called Evan. My hands shook, but my voice didn't. "Son, I've been thinking. Maybe you were right. I can't keep up with things like before. I just want to pick up a few tools from the shed. Maybe grab your mother's photo albums." There was a pause, then a sigh of relief. "I'm glad you're coming around, Dad. Come by tomorrow morning. Becky will be home." That was exactly what we needed. Sam lent me a small body cam disguised as a shirt button, motion-activated, high resolution. He'd used it in his detective days. "Don't confront them," he warned. "Ask questions. Get them talking. Make them say it themselves." Laura prepared a power of attorney revocation draft, unsigned for now, but ready to file once we had evidence. She also pulled a trick from her investigative playbook, a tracking microdot inside a manila envelope to mark any document they handed me. If they produced the original forged contract, we'd know. By dawn, everything was ready. Sam parked 2 streets over with a long lens camera, just in case. I walked up my old driveway like a stranger approaching someone else's house. Becky opened the door, looking surprised but composed. "Henry, I didn't think you'd actually come." "I'm just here for my things," I said, smiling faintly. "And I wanted to apologize." Her eyebrows lifted. "Apologize? For being difficult. You two were trying to help. Maybe I overreacted." She relaxed instantly, the way a liar does when they think the danger's past. "That means a lot, Henry. Really." I stepped inside. My boots clicked against the hardwood I'd laid myself. Every board creaked differently, and somehow I still remembered which one hid the loose plank beneath the stairs, the one where I'd kept our old safe. "Becky," I said casually, "mind if I grab some old paperwork from the office? You said last week you'd already filed those transfer papers. I'd just like to see them. Make sure I sign the right place this time." Her smile froze. "Oh, I think Evan already dropped those off." "Good," I said, nodding. "Then you won't mind showing me a copy, will you?" The camera in my shirt caught the way her pupils dilated. The brief glance toward the desk drawer. The whispered curse she thought I didn't hear. I smiled to myself. Because in that split second, I knew. She still had the original document right there in the house. Becky turned toward the office door like she hadn't heard me. "You know, Henry, I think it's better if Evan handles the paperwork. He's more familiar with everything." "Sure," I said, following her. "But while I'm here, maybe I can at least find my marriage certificate. You kept it in the top drawer, right?" She froze mid-step. Just half a second, but enough for the body cam to catch it. I moved slowly, letting her walk ahead, acting every bit the harmless old man she believed I was. The office was exactly as I'd left it, except for one thing. My filing cabinet was gone. In its place sat a sleek white printer and a locked drawer chest. "New setup?" I asked. "Evan likes things organized," she said quickly. While she fussed with a stack of folders, I dropped the manila envelope Laura had given me on the desk, the one with the tracking microdot, and kept talking, casual as Sunday coffee. "So Becky, tell me, how does a notary thing like you did actually work? Do you stamp first or sign first?" She blinked, caught off guard. "Why?" "Just curious. I saw your name listed as witness and notary. Didn't know that was even allowed." Her face went pale. It was just a formality. The lawyer told us it was fine." "Funny," I said softly, "because Sam checked. In Arizona, notarizing a document you personally benefit from is perjury." She set the folders down with a snap. "You shouldn't be here, Henry. You need to leave." I didn't move. Instead, I reached into the side drawer she'd just locked and jiggled the handle. It popped open. Inside was a slim leather folder labeled Property Transfer Miles Residence. She lunged, but I was faster. "Careful," I said quietly. "You don't want to wrinkle your confession." The body cam recorded everything. Her frantic face, her hands snatching the folder, the words spilling out before she could stop herself. "You don't understand. Evan said it was just paperwork. He said you'd never even notice." That was it. The slip we needed. I stepped back, letting her clutch the folder like a shield. "Don't worry, Becky," I said. "I'm not taking anything. I just needed to see who I was really dealing with." Then I walked out the door. Sam was parked 3 houses down, pretending to read a newspaper. I slid into the truck beside him and handed over the memory card from the camera. He plugged it into his laptop right there in the truck, Watched Becky's face freeze on screen, her words clear as day. "You don't understand. Evan said it was just paperwork." Sam whistled low. "That's physical proof number one. Verbal admission, visual timestamp, and notarization fraud. You've just turned their little family scam into a federal offense." I stared at the screen, her frozen expression lit by the dashboard glow. For the first time since my birthday, I felt the balance starting to shift. By Tuesday morning, the video was in Laura Kim's hands. She watched it twice, first as a lawyer, then as a journalist. When it ended, she leaned back in her chair and said, "That's it. We've got them." She admits to notarizing her own forgery, and it's all time-stamped. Sam grinned. "Told you, the old man still knows how to build something solid." Laura cracked her knuckles. "Now we make it public before they bury the evidence." By noon, she had filed a temporary injunction with the county court to freeze any transaction tied to my name or property. At 2 p.m., she sent an evidence packet, video, receipts, and a brief affidavit to her old editor at the Phoenix Ledger. The subject line read, "Elder exploitation, forgery, and a family's greed." I didn't know she'd moved that fast until my phone started buzzing. First, Sam sent me a link, then my neighbor, and even my granddaughter, Maggie. "Grandpa, you're on the news." I opened the article. My heart pounded as I read, "Local man fights back after son, daughter-in-law allegedly forge signature to seize family home." There it was, my story, my name. They blurred the faces, but anyone in our town would know exactly who it was. By sunset, reporters were parked down the street. Evan called first, voice tight, panicked. "Dad, what the hell did you do?" "Just told the truth," I said. "You embarrassed us. You could have handled this privately." "I tried privately," I said. "You changed the locks, remember?" He went silent. Then his voice cracked. "You don't understand. Becky's freaking out. Her boss saw the article. People are calling." "Good," I said. "Now they know what you did." I hung up before he could start spinning excuses. An hour later, Laura texted, "Court accepted the injunction. They can't sell, refinance, or move a dime out of your accounts until further review. Next step, criminal investigation." I stared at that message for a long time, feeling both heavy and lighter at once. Outside, the reporters' vans glowed in the dark like quiet sentinels. For the first time, I didn't hide. I walked outside, stood on the sidewalk, and let them take my picture. Not as a victim, but as proof that I still existed. That night, Sam poured us 2 glasses of whiskey and said, "They wanted to erase your name from the house, Henry. Instead, you just put it on the front page." I raised my glass. "And tomorrow, we make sure the law catches up with them." The morning after the article hit, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Half the calls were from reporters. The rest were from numbers I didn't recognize. Lawyers, advocacy groups, even a social worker asking if I needed support. The irony made me laugh. 3 days ago, they called me senile. Now everyone wanted a quote from the man who fought back. But Evan and Becky weren't done. By noon, Laura called, voice clipped. "They've filed a counterclaim against you. Trespassing, defamation, and get this, mental incompetence." I nearly dropped the phone. "Mental what?" "They're claiming you're unstable. They attached a report from Dr. Laird, conveniently written last night." Sam, listening beside me, muttered, "That snake again." Laura continued, "Don't panic. They overplayed their hand. Filing false mental evaluations after an injunction. That's obstruction. We'll turn it on them." Still, seeing my own son put that label on me again lit a fire in my gut. I wasn't about to lose twice. Sam and I drove downtown to Laura's office. She had 2 laptops open and a whiteboard covered in arrows and dates. "We're taking this federal," she said. "We'll file with the Elder Financial Abuse Task Force and the State Notary Commission. The recording shows Becky violated certification law. Evan's countersuit just made him look like he's retaliating." Sam handed her a folder. And I dug up Dr. Laird's disciplinary record. 3 complaints for overprescribing medication to seniors. He's got a pattern. Laura's eyes lit up. "Perfect. We'll attach that." That night, as I was walking back to my rented room, my phone buzzed again, an unknown number. When I answered, all I heard was breathing. Then Evan's voice, quiet and strained. "Dad, please, stop this. You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," I said. "I'm giving you what you wanted, attention." "You'll ruin everything," he said, voice breaking. "Son," I said softly, "you already did." Click. The next morning, Laura sent me a photo of the courthouse docket. Case filed. State of Arizona versus Evan Miles and Rebecca Miles. Charges: fraud, forgery, elder exploitation, perjury. And just below that, a separate notice. Temporary custody of property restored to original owner pending trial. I stared at the printout until the words blurred. Sam clapped my shoulder. "Told you, old man. The tide always turns, if you build the right foundation." Outside, news vans were gathering again, cameras ready for the next headline. And I knew what tomorrow's would be. Family who stole father's home now facing felony charges. The courthouse hearing was set for Friday morning. Laura wanted every detail airtight: dates, signatures, timelines. "Once we get the original deed," she said, "everything collapses." But there was one problem. The original deed wasn't in the county file. It had been pulled for review 2 weeks earlier, the same week Evan and Becky pushed through their fraudulent transfer. That night, Sam and I sat in his truck outside the Ellis Legal Group building. He had a small recorder in his pocket, old police habit. "We're not breaking in," he said. "We're just having a talk with someone who might remember something." That someone was Nancy, the firm's night clerk. Laura had discovered through court filings that Nancy's digital signature had been used on my deed verification, but her shift logs showed she hadn't worked that day. When she saw Sam's old badge and my face, she looked nervous. "You're the man from the article," she whispered. "I thought what they did was wrong." "Then help me fix it," I said. She hesitated, then opened her desk drawer and handed me a sealed envelope. I kept a copy. I knew it would come back to haunt them. Inside was the original deed, stamped and notarized, but with a second signature, one I hadn't seen before. Allen Laird, Maryland. Witness. Laura compared it that night under magnification. He signed as both witness and evaluator. Illegal. Plain and simple. Sam grinned. "That's our physical proof #2. The next day, Laura confronted Dr. Laird in his office while Sam recorded from the hallway. She laid the forged document on his desk and said, "You want to walk out of here with your license, doctor? Tell the truth." He folded in seconds. "Becky offered me $5,000 to sign it," he confessed. "She said it was just a precaution, that Henry was slipping." "And you knew it was false?" Laura pressed. He nodded. "I did. I'm sorry." When Laura played that recording back for the prosecutor, the woman actually smiled. "We can move to indictment within 48 hours. By the weekend, federal marshals served papers to Evan and Becky at their office jobs. Neighbors filmed as the couple stood outside in silence while the agents carried out computers, files, and Becky's notary logbook. Sam sent me a text that night. They just lost everything they stole, and then some. I stared at my reflection in the motel mirror. The man looking back wasn't angry anymore. He looked steady, ready. Because tomorrow, I wasn't just going to watch justice happen. I was going to walk through my own front door again. The courthouse smelled of coffee and old paper, the kind of air that carries judgment. I sat beside Laura while Sam stood in the back row, arms folded, that quiet cop's pride written all over his face. Evan and Becky sat across the aisle. He wore a wrinkled suit, eyes sunken. She looked smaller without the confidence, her hair unkempt, makeup uneven. Their attorney whispered to them like a lifeguard talking to people already underwater. The judge flipped through the files, reading in silence. Then, one by one, Laura laid the evidence on the table. First, the video recording, Becky admitting to notarizing her own fraud. Then, the original deed, signed by Dr. Laird. Finally, the audio confession, his voice shaky, naming the exact bribe. When the recording ended, you could hear the air leave the room. The judge took off his glasses. Mr. and Mrs. Miles, your actions meet the statutory definition of fraud, perjury, and elder exploitation. The court hereby nullifies the property transfer, reinstates ownership to Mr. Henry Miles, and refers this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Evan's lawyer tried to object, something about misunderstanding and family disputes, but the judge shut him down with one sentence. Forgery isn't a family misunderstanding. Becky started to cry. Evan just stared at me, hollow-eyed. For once, I didn't feel hatred, only distance, like I was watching strangers unravel. After court, Laura handed me the reinstatement order, a plain white document with the county seal and my name at the top. Owner of record, Henry Miles. Sam nudged me. Feels good, doesn't it? I nodded. Better than I thought. That afternoon, I drove back to the house. The reporters had cleared out. The locks had been changed again, this time by court order. I turned the key, stepped inside, and just stood there. The place was quiet. The air smelled like cedar and dust, like it did when I first built it with my wife. I ran my hand along the wall, the grain rough beneath my fingers. On the table sat Maggie's drawing from months ago, me and her standing in front of the house, smiling. She'd written in shaky letters, Grandpa's home. I smiled. She'd been right all along. Outside, the sun dropped behind the mountains, throwing orange light across the floorboards. I locked the door from the inside, took one last look around, and whispered, "Welcome home, old man." Evan and Becky pled guilty to fraud and perjury in exchange for probation and restitution. They sold their cars, their pride, and half their savings to pay legal fees. Dr. Laird lost his medical license. And me? I kept the house, but I didn't rebuild the family. Some structures aren't worth fixing. Now I spend my mornings sanding wood in the same garage they once tried to take. It's peaceful work, honest, quiet, and mine again. If you've listened this far, thank you. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? And don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Stories Men U60 USA, because stories like mine deserve to be heard.